when the president was a candidate for president, he said, I could shoot somebody on Fifth Avenue and nobody would really do anything much about it because he was held in such high regard by himself, for sure. And that is the attitude that he and his family have brought to the White House, an arrogance about being above the law, that they are not accountable. And that is why I thank the work of the committees with these inquiries that they have made to get to the facts. This weekend, or today actually, our colleague Benny Thompson of Mississippi will be doing the response to the president, talking about the integrity of our elections. He's our top Democrat on the Homeland Security Committee. Imagine this, that some of the information that should be available to the states about information that has been collected in terms of an assault on the integrity of our elections, they've told some of these secretaries of state, you can't get the information because you don't have the proper clearance. Oh, no, we reserve that for Jared Kushner. Any questions? Yes, sir.
In your opening remarks and also yesterday, you cited this meeting as cold hard evidence of collusion with the Trump family campaign and the Russians. You heard from Congresswoman Waters saying that she's thought for long that President Trump should be impeached, and then you had Brad Sherman and Al Green both introduce articles of impeachment this week. Do all these inquiries that you're talking about this morning, do they need to be answered and investigated before you're ready to support impeachment, or what's it going to take for you to support?
Well, the Republicans, I think the facts will be self-evident. Maybe they will be exculpatory of the president. Maybe they will not. But there is evidence, clear evidence, that we need to know more, and we should not close that path. But let me just say what I did say yesterday, because I think it's really important for people to know, as my colleague, Mr. Cicilline, we've gone into new territory this week with the Trump Jr. Statement. Donald Trump Jr., Jared Kushner, Paul Manafort, and the Trump campaign. And then we're finding out who else was in the room. This is a campaign violation, soliciting, coordinating, or accepting something of value, opposition research, documents and information from a foreign government or foreign national. Plain and simple. Criminal conspiracy to defraud the United States, impeding the lawful administration of a federal election, or to make an offense against the United States, cyber crimes, hacking against U.S. citizens, the Clinton campaign. Conspiracy with respect to espionage, depending on whether information was obtained through Russian spying and the level of their awareness of the spying. When I say there, I mean Trump, Kushner, Manafort, etc., the awareness of the spying to receive this information. So we need to follow the facts, and what did the rest of the family know, and when did they know it? So this is, I've always been reluctant because I think impeachment is something that really has an impact on the country. So when the facts are clear, the law is certainly clear. When the facts are clear, then this Congress will make a decision in that regard. But I hope that the Republicans will not stand in the way of the American people getting the facts. When the president has clearly stated he can do whatever he wants, he's not accountable. Any other questions?
Leader Pelosi, are you saying that the people in that meeting violated those laws or may have violated those laws?
Yes. I mean, let me just say this, because I hear the president saying things that are so, shall we say, groundless. He says, oh, this is just politics. This is not just politics. You know the example of Tom Downey. Tom Downey received a packet that had information that described what the Republicans, what the Bush campaign was going to do at the debates. He was participating in the debate preparation with Vice President Al Gore at the time. The minute he received the information, opened the package, saw what it was, he gave it to the FBI. This is fruit from a forbidden tree. You don't accept that. He turned it over to the FBI. The person who sent it to him went to jail for sending an American, not a foreign government, an American, went to jail for sending it to him. So this is about the law, but it's also about a high ethical standard that you would think anyone who wanted to be president of the United States would aspire to, at least strive for, but not disregard. So on the strength of what they have now, there is very serious reason to believe that these people violated the law in being receptive to that information. They should have passed it out. And this is not how politics works. Our candidates know that if they got some ill-gotten gain in terms of negative, not a clue of did you know so-and-so didn't really go to that college. I'm talking about receiving an in-kind contribution of negative research from somebody, you turn it over to the FBI. Any other colleagues want to comment on that? Yes.
Thank you. With regards to the Russian sanctions bill, you and other House Democrats have expressed support for that measure. Congressman Castro, you said there were no procedural holdups, but isn't there a blue slip issue?
No,
isn't there
it's resolved. The blue slip issue is resolved.
With regards to House members not being allowed to bring up a resolution of disapproval should the president ease sanctions, is that still an issue, or where does that stand?
Well, thank you very much for your question. As you know, the sanctions bill that was introduced by top Democrat on the Committee of Foreign Affairs, Eliot Engel, which Mr. Hoyer and I joined him in, it was a bill that passed the Senate 98-2. Strong bipartisan support. The Russian sanctions and Iran sanctions legislation. That came over to the House. It had a blue slip problem, more process than you probably want to know. But in that case, that was resolved. Now, the remaining issue, weeks ago, before the break, was that they, in the legislation, they are not respectful of the minority rights of the House, the Democrats in the House. But I said to the leadership, conveyed to the leadership at the time, I don't like that. I want to protect the prerogatives of the minority in the House. But weighing the equities, what was more important was passing the Russian-Iran sanctions bill. So we are on board to just proceed. They didn't bring it up. The blue slip problem has been solved, and the only issue would be the House Democrats' prerogative in this, which, as I say, is not as important as passing the bill. So that's why Mr. Engel presented the bill to make it clear. We are not holding up this bill. We have never been holding up this bill. If anybody's holding up the bill, it's probably the White House. And that is really where you should direct your inquiry to the Republicans as to why a bill that passed in a bipartisan way, 98-2, sanctions on Russia, is being held up in the House. I thank the chairman for the ranking member for introducing the bill, and we all stand ready to support it. He could do it today, but practically by unanimous consent, but we certainly have to do it next week.
For 6 months, we have watched the Trump administration make a mockery out of our laws and the highest office of our land, while our Republican colleagues on the Judiciary Committee refuse to allow hearings on obstruction of justice and collusion with Russia. Attorney General Sessions has engaged in a conduct of duck and cover that fits a pattern that we've seen with the Trump administration. The Attorney General failed to disclose his meetings with the Russian government in testimony before Congress, and just yesterday, the Department of Justice released a heavily redacted document that suggests that the Attorney General failed to disclose any contacts with foreign governments on his security clearance application. This is the form he submitted. It's blank here, calling into question whether the nation's top law enforcement office should even have a security clearance. Our resolution of inquiry on the Judiciary Committee forces the House Committee on the Judiciary to take up the systematic problems on this administration's conflicts of interest and collusion with Russia. It is appalling, frankly, that the House Judiciary Committee has abdicated its duty to hold the Trump administration accountable and refused to even consider asking for answers on the Trump's ties to Russia. The House Judiciary Committee should follow the example of Republican leaders on the Senate Judiciary Committee who are taking action on the Trump-Russia matter. They know how essential it is to the core principles of our democracy, and the Senate Judiciary Committee is holding some hearings, has requested some information. So just as our Senate counterparts are now going to exercise oversight over Donald Trump Jr.'s meetings with the Russian government, Mr. Cicilline and I will be amending our resolution and will be sending a letter to Chairman Goodlatte to demand more information on Donald Trump Jr.'s affairs. Our committee must do its job, not only on Donald Trump Jr., but also on Jared Kushner's participation in this meeting and the abrupt settlement by the Department of Justice for a related money laundering case involving $230 million that was settled for less than $6 million. That is millions of dollars that the American taxpayers have been denied and have had taken away from them. We have a duty as the Judiciary Committee to exercise oversight over the administration and the Justice Department. The American people deserve better. This resolution that we are introducing ensures that our committee starts actually being a Judiciary Committee, exercising oversight over this matter that is so critical for the preservation of our democracy.